Hello and welcome back to another episode of White Album 2's Fan Club Radio. We are continuing on with part 2 of episode 87. Episode 87 is the last episode in the whole Fan Club Radio series, which is really, I don't know, it's sad. It's sad to see it go because 87 episodes is a long time for just the voice actresses talking about a game. Like, yes, they had special guests and stuff, but this is a long weekly thing, you know? That's more than a year if you did one episode every single week. So, the end of an era. Let's see how it continues to unfold. This message is from Kazusa Forever-san. I wonder which heroine they like the best. About the infidelity route in Coda. Alright. The scene at the very end where Haruki and Kazusa let go of each other's hands was the one that made my stomach hurt the most. I actually felt nauseous. Wow. When Kazusa came to her senses at the last moment and tried to act so tough, I was speechless. When she said, "You let go." Then you didn't have to let go. Don't let go. Why would you let go? What were Hitomi and Daichu-san thinking as they acted out that scene? Also, would you have let go? I'm dying to know. As for me, I wouldn't have let go. Emotionally, I guess I wouldn't want to let that go. And this also goes back to the airport scene at the end of IC, when people are like, what would you have done? And every single person said, well, I wouldn't have gotten myself into that situation. Kind of the same thing here. If you get caught up in doing that at the ticket gate, you're going to hold up traffic. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the scene. We're on the station platform. You might not get in the way, but you're going to draw a lot of attention. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? From passersby. They'd all stare. What's happening with them? People would get curious. Oh, yes, they would. Imagine all those gossiping housewives, the stereotype in anime, which is more true than you would think. That they would definitely be watching, and they would definitely tell all their friends about it. So, I know I've said this before. Yes? But the infidelity route, that isn't its official name, right? Right. Everyone just called it that so it caught on? Yeah. Maybe, but officially, just to clear this up, it's been called the infidelity route since I first wrote the text. But it doesn't feel like infidelity. What? Well, how can you say it doesn't feel like it's literally infidelity. That is the meaning of the word. It's serious. Serious? Oh yeah, it's serious infidelity. What I mean is, it's a serious... The reason I gave it the name infidelity route was purely because of what actually happens. The matter of it is infidelity, obviously. Infidelity. Right, as an action. Yeah, what do you mean? Like, that's like saying, oh, well, if you're stealing food to feed your family, it's not stealing. Like, yes, maybe you could empathize with it, but it doesn't mean it's not stealing. So I gave it that title because the way his heart keeps moving back and forth and can't settle on anything manifests as infidelity. Right. Yes, I get it. Expressing this as infidelity itself is what makes it immoral in a lot of ways. Right, so this isn't about their feelings and so on. It's about how they're committing an act of infidelity from an outside perspective. But that actually makes it an even heavier word. I don't think society would consider something like this infidelity because the feelings are serious. Good point. No. I think everyone would agree that this is infidelity. It doesn't matter how strong your feelings are for the third person. You're still cheating. You know, you're still causing someone crazy amounts of heartbreak. It's still infidelity. You're just in love with the other person. I don't know. Maybe that makes it worse. They're both serious. that it's something fun. Like you're messing around because it's enjoyable. It's fickle. Right, being fickle. This isn't fickle. It's not being fickle. An adventure, to use a slightly dated term. Oh, a venture. Right. It's not remotely that. Right. They're staking their lives on this infidelity. It's difficult, it's painful. Yeah, so really, Haruki is crying throughout this whole scene, right? Well, poor Haruki. Not really, though, because he literally dug himself into this hole, breaking Setsuna's heart, breaking Kazusa's heart. I feel no sympathy for this root. He literally did it himself. Haruki does a lot of crying. Poor guy. But at this point, the crying is just a sign of collapse. It's not about what he's feeling anymore. He's completely tied down. And he knows there's nothing he can do from there. Right? But with emotions, the impulse to move is there. But he's lost the access to respond to it. So there's nothing he can do. That's where I think his mental state is. Rehabilitation isn't easy, you know. If you break down, it can happen that if you're playing someone who's breaking down, you end up doing it too. It happened to me. Wow. Yeah, like, especially in this route with Haruki when he's kind of losing his mind and he feels super sick and super shaky and he's constantly passing out and having these panic attacks, it would be really hard to act that way without your brain kind of flipping that little switch that thinks, oh my God, something terrible is happening to me. You know, that's the thing about our minds. It's crazy. So I can imagine this would be super rough on him. It's not the kind of thing that's framed with Haruki's monologue going, oh no, I'm collapsing, what do I do? He's completely hollow as I'm performing him. He's not firmly planted there. It's, Haruki's not even here right now. Yeah. I'm saying my lines with my eyes half closed like, so this is it. And my body really just goes limp. Yeah, wow. Yeah. I can't read anything when I'm like that. My body does that. Really, when I'm acting, I think of it as someone that's a reflection of something physiological. So when I'm acting angry, my body heats up. When I'm sad, I start crying naturally. And when the character is breaking down, I get into this weird state. It's crazy. Actually, Mochizuki-san checked up on me while we were recording. Wow. Good for him, though, realizing that the actor is, a little shaken up by this. Are you okay? Yeah, we just recorded a bit at a time. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Let's stop for a second. I had no idea. Wow. That's how it went for me. This route must have been the most difficult to act. Definitely. Really? I mean, for me, I was looking at the script constantly, but I kept saying stuff that was completely different from what was written. Wait, what? Really, I kept saying lines that weren't anywhere to be found. But then, if you make things too complicated, there were lines where I was thinking, I probably made this up. Oh, this is what I'm really saying here. If you'd kept that voicing, I would have rewritten it. Yeah, sometimes they'll rewrite to the actor or actress's words. You'll see that a lot of time in daytime dramas or sitcoms. They'll throw in the ad-libbed lines because they work so well. Because sometimes as someone's writing it, they can't feel the full emotion that maybe a voice actor or a true actor, I shouldn't say true actor, a real life actor, they might feel that emotion so strongly because they're doing it that they can come up with these lines that are just so good. So that could be the case here. That's no way to record for a game, right? I say I was looking constantly, but maybe not enough. Yeah. What kinds of things were you saying? Do you recall? What would it have been? I can't remember. There have probably been times for me, when the emotional core stayed the same, but some of the words came from me as I played Haruki, or from the character. Yeah. So I've said some things that differed, probably not as much as Naba-chan, but no. There have been times when I got so emotional that I used a different particle for a phrase or something. Particle being like the grammar, which structures Japanese sentences together. That's just the writer being lousy. No, you were right. My point is, really, when humans get emotional, our speech gets disorganized. Ooh, I hate when that happens. I can't tell you how many times. When you get heated and you get into an argument, and then you start like stuttering, or you use the wrong word, and then you're like, no, like, I'm not stupid, I'm just really angry. Yes, yeah. I think that may be what's going on. Yeah. Come to think of it, when would it have been? For example, if I was saying, let go, I might have added something extra before it. Hurry up and... I don't know whether that was it, but it was constantly, that's not the line. Then was Mochizuki-san correcting you? No, I was saying it. Oh, you realized? It hit me. Reacting to your own lines. That wasn't right. I didn't say that. That wasn't right. I feel like that happened several times. But, I mean, one of the characteristics of this game is characters muttering to themselves in a teeny tiny font. So it could be in there. Yeah. When you're acting, sometimes that stuff just slips out. Yes. I hate when they... Okay, I think it's cute when they do that in the game. They use that teeny tiny font. But it's so frustrating that the characters do that. Like, who mutters to themselves? Other than being a complete jerk. Who does that? Who just mutters things under their breath? I don't know. It's just like, what, you want to start a fight? There's something you can't communicate with me, like an adult? And that's how I feel every time it's done in the game. Even if it's something kind of loving, like Chiaki sometimes drops loving little hints under her breath. She also drops a lot of not loving hints under her breath. Just say it. Just say it to my face. Or like, don't say it at all. You know, it just seems so immature and dumb. Although, if you kept enough in there, having a lot of mixed up particles could make it feel more realistic. Maybe so. The part when I yelled, Toma! At the airport in an IC is a perfect example, I think. Right? Yeah. I'd been calling her Kazusa because I was told to, but Toma came out first. Not because I wanted to say it, but because it was what I was used to. And while I was recording, I actually said, oh, oops, I guess she's Toma now. Oh. I felt like a bit of an idiot. Although, right, because Toma is like a more informal name because it's her last name, so colleagues or classmates or people who just aren't that close would call her Toma. But she asked him, please call me Kazusa, because that insinuates they have a closer relationship. But then at the airport, him yelling Toma again, I mean, I do think it's fitting, because he's not exactly used to calling her Kazusa straight up. But I don't know, it does. It feels more human than what was actually written. Well, where our roles are concerned, I've started calling her Kazusa. So she's Kazusa. But as a human, I wouldn't be used to calling her Kazusa yet, since I've been calling her Toma this whole time. But I didn't think to interpret it that way in the moment as I was reading. I'm still frustrated about that. There was a point when I was playing when I realized my line was wrong. What? No way, where? Seriously, was it? I went, oh God. Wow. What I was saying was different from what was written. Hang on, that should have been debugged. Should have been debugged. Something slipped through the debugging stage. Hold on. He's getting serious now. Actually, it was because Mochizuki-san said I delivered it well. Still. And it was just one character that was off. And by character, they mean like the Japanese writing character. The text should have been fixed then. For my part, I was going, I know why I wanted to say that there. I can completely understand why Kazusa would want to say this, but it's not what the text says. It was a tiny little thing I noticed. Wow. I see. Hold on, what scene was it? Seriously. Oh, he's really in work mode. He's like, there can't be any bugs in my game. Where was it? Where was it? Can I say it? Is there any problem if I... Let's see. It was near the end of IC when she's clinging to Haruki. Oh. Oh, really? So, at the airport? Not the airport, before that. When they're alone? Around the time they go to Haruki's place, or before that. At the park, maybe? Somewhere around the park, one of my lines. Huh. That's true. I'm sure a few people must have noticed. They have to have noticed. It's a really great scene. That could be exactly why you made the mistake. But they kept it and used it. It was really great of Mochizuki-san. Exactly. To prioritize that. Prioritize the acting. Yeah, fans will definitely point out these types of errors. I wonder if it would be possible... I don't know. Would it be possible to edit that after the fact, after a game has been released? I know you could for the PC versions if you send out patches, but PS3? Maybe you could patch it, but if it's a digital disc, I don't know if that would work. Interesting to think about. I mean, if you have too many discussions about, oh, I'm not sure this is how it should go here, it can turn into a fight, right? Normally, we're supposed to be sort of detached about it. Right. But we end up sticking our conflicting interpretations all over it, which ends up with Mochizuki-san complaining later about how slowly recording is going. Sorry. But every single time I see Mochizuki-san, we end up talking about how interesting the story is. Really? Oh, this stuff is hilarious. It's constant. You're blushing. The whole time we were going, oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's amazing. Right? Oh, they're such nerds for their job. I think that's so cute. Was that during the infidelity route? That one. All right. That was when Mochizuki-san and I had our most excited discussions. That's what I figured. Oh, so thinking about when Haruki started to break down, in a sense, there were some varied ideas. A lot of going, well, but since he starts doing this here, maybe it's like this. Yeah. But that was from the engineer, right? In the studio? Yes. Even the person working in the studio was completely obsessed. They were. You're right. They were saying how enthralling it was. The person who was recording us. I've never known any recording engineers who chatted that much. That's so cute. Imagine, the sound man and the cameraman being super excited about the story they're recording. I mean, it's hard not to get pulled in when it's a story like White Album 2. It was great. They were really absorbed in it. Yeah. Reading the script while they were recording us. They were so into it. They really appreciated it. Talking about how much they'd read that day. And this is a big, thick book. It's the whole script. But they were reading and reading. Massive. God, can you imagine the script for White Album 2? They talk so much. Especially, well, I guess the inner monologue of Haruki isn't voiced, but his inner monologue is so long sometimes. Come on, it's not that big a deal. Oh, backwards. Okay, this is turning into backhanded praise like last week. If you keep going on like that, I won't be able to say anything else. Come on, it's not that big a deal. No, keep talking. I'm getting embarrassed hearing you say all this. You're blushing. But when I'm praising you the most is when in my head I'm yelling, Maruto! That's when I'm praising you the highest. I think we've all been there. I think we've all, in the worst parts of the game, the most heartbreaking, I guess, that's when we're all yelling Maruto in our hearts. That sounds more like I'm being criticized. No. That's when Maruto-san has me in his grip the tightest. The parts that make me go, God, why do you have to make it hurt this bad? I see. Those are the parts that knock me out completely. Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, thank you very much for that. Finally, Maruto-san is showing some gratitude. Now that I think about it, the way we were all talking about how compelling it was while we were recording, right? For this to come out into the world and have people find it compelling and be made into an anime, that's pretty weird. That's pretty wild. It is. Yes, it is. See, I really think a lot of considerations probably went into whether Haruki's voice would be in a game like this. True, the majority of dating sims do not have the main character voiced. Because, of course they are a character, but they also want you to be able to envision yourself. Like, oh, you get to date the waifus, you know? It's just the kind of game it is. But with Haruki, because he's voiced especially, you really do get the sense that you are a character, you're not yourself. And thank God for that, because Haruki's decisions are always awful. I'm glad I don't think of it as me. But they said they'd do it, and that meant it had to have some significance, which must mean that there are also people who think it isn't necessary. Yeah. But I feel like probably when it comes to this work, most people are looking at it with the sense that it does belong there. Definitely. I can't imagine it not being there. Yeah. Although when I was writing, it wasn't under the assumption that your voice would be there at all. Wow. And that is interesting because if you know someone's going to be saying the lines, you're going to use a lot less internal dialogue, right? You'd make them talk more. And this is possibly why Haruki has such an extensive internal monologue, because they weren't planning on making him voiced in the beginning. But I guess the second part is also, it's just the type of person Haruki is. He's that analytical, overthinking type of person. Yes, really. Then, when it was time to record, Mochizuki-san told me, that everyone on Aqua Plus was saying, of course, Haruki has to be in there. Huh. Wait, we're including him? Wow. So of course, since I was one of the people creating it, I started talking about it from a cost standpoint. Well, yes, that's definitely a realistic discussion to have. I wasn't sure. This is a very wordy protagonist. That was my concern. That's fair. Right? Now that you mention it, my voice is the voice that the users, the players, hear the most of. It's true. Can you imagine how much budget they would have saved if they didn't have Haruki voiced? Can you imagine? Then again, I feel like there'd be a lot of these awkward silences. Since all the other characters are so plainly voiced, it might come across as just a little bit weird to have these gaps of silence. I don't know, though. I guess it works in other dating sims. Maybe I'm just too used to White Album 2. You're probably right. Right. Right? Definitely. You have all of those monologues. We were talking about that. There's been enough recorded for 4 seasons worth of anime. Or maybe even more than that. Oh, wow, you're right. Really? It's a pretty long story to make into an anime. So with the recording, I worked with my schedule to make it a regular time. You fit it in. I was recording it little by little every week. You must have been battling with Mochizuki-san every week. Yes, 18,000. 18,000 words? Wow, you really talked. I really did a lot of talking. Yeah. So altogether, it came to 20,000 and some. right? With IC included. Right, but since I recorded it this way, I could focus on doing it steadily, bit by bit, instead of blasting through for several hours straight, and I'm really grateful for that. Yeah. So if it got into a good shape that way and the users were happy with it, then I'm very glad we've done it that way. Right? Very important too, because if you do, voice actors and actresses are sometimes very overworked. And if they try to blast through more, even what Daichi-san is talking about right now is a lot. That's a lot. That's a few hours of constant voice recording. But if you try to do more than that, your voice is going to start getting a little bit raspy. You won't be able to act out lines as well as you might have. You might start losing your motivation. So I do think that pacing yourself like he does is a very, very important thing to do. Yeah. Oh, should we go to the next one? We went completely off topic. I don't even remember what the letter said. Me neither, honestly. That's what happens when you talk about whatever you want. Okay, this is from Snowscape-san. That's a lot of S's. All right. In this route, this is about to you, my sworn enemy. In this route, Haruki's heart ultimately breaks because he can't choose Setsuna or Kazusa. But this time, he gradually regains himself. This whole time, he'd been saying that he was the one in the wrong, and Setsuna hadn't done anything wrong. So in a sense, he wasn't treating Setsuna as an equal. But at the end, he addresses her as omae. I think this route is the one where Haruki grows the most, but I would love to know what you all think. The thing about him using omae for you with her really seems to have stuck with people. But couldn't that just be because of how much has gone on since IC? Huh. Maybe so. So the nuance here, which I think is lost in English, unless you know, because obviously in English, omae just says you, and that's the meaning of it. But in Japanese, there are so many different ways to say the word you. And throughout the whole game, Haruki doesn't refer to Setsuna as omae because it's slightly more rude. And a lot of the time, friends will refer to each other as this. You do hear Haruki call Takeya omae constantly. When Takeya makes an off-kilter joke or something, and he's like, omae. You hear that a lot. But towards Setsuna, he's never said that before. He's never been on that casual, sort of like being mean to each other jokingly kind of level. So the fact that he gets that point in the end, I don't think he's using it in a super negative way. I think he's just finally given up all pretenses and he's just going to talk to her straight. And that is so important. And so, I don't know, I guess you hear a lot less of it in English forums and stuff because it's not there. But in Japanese forums, yes, this is a really big talking point when talking about this route. That's my spiel. Let's move on. Maruto-san, you look like you want to say something. Well, looking back from this point, she says something like, you finally started calling me omae, right? Yes. But this scenario is pretty long, so probably it could be that in the early stages of the game, he says it. What? But in CC, he's keeping a lot of distance from Setsuna in that realm of things, right? So thinking from CC on, he hasn't called her that. Yeah? But I think it's fully possible that he let a few slip in IC. I know he used it with Takeya. Wait, did he? He uses it with Takeya, yes. Yeah, I can hear it right now, like in my brain right now. I can hear him saying it to Takeya. He does. But with Setsuna, I feel like he didn't with her. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't know for sure unless I actually looked back a bit. No, he doesn't. My instinct says that if he'd used it with her, something would have felt off. I agree. With us talking about this, I'm sure there are people who will play it from the beginning again. Just looking for that. Oh boy, I've said too much. He doesn't say it. Yeah, now that I think about it, uh-huh. If we consider that term of address as a gauge for the emotional distance between them, it makes sense. It seems like he could have been handling her a bit gingerly up to this point. Yeah, that's the whole reason for the fight in the park. He just wouldn't talk seriously with her. He's constantly keeping her at an arm's length and not talking to her like a regular person. That could have been part of the picture. But thinking from Setsuna's point of view, Haruki-kun hasn't done anything wrong. So I imagine she wouldn't want him to handle her that carefully. Her saying that is exactly what made make him do it. I see though. But as a woman, being able to have an honest conversation makes us a lot happier than being handled carefully. It's tricky though. There are some women who really don't like being called omae. There are. Right, so as a guy myself, I have a really hard time using that word. I rarely do. Here's the thing. You put a heart after it. Omae. Like you're saying, darling. You're dreaming. That's so cute though. So, Yone-chan, how would you feel about being called omae? I guess I wouldn't like it said in a, hey you, kind of way. But if it was said affectionately, maybe that would be okay. Yeah, like if you tease someone and then they like shove your shoulder and they're like, oh, you know, in that sense. That's when it's like the more personal, more kind, not kind, I guess, but it does feel more personal. It could depend on the tone. All right. And before we jump into everyone else's opinions on the word, we will stop there for today. So, thank you so much for joining me on this part of White Album 2 Fan Club Radio, and we'll be back with part 3 shortly. So until then, I hope you take care. See you.